Right, thank you. Were you concerned about me not turning around as comedian? Yeah, well, yeah, no, I just don't assume that it's going to happen. Yeah. Because I think that's a bit arrogant. There
Okay. Everybody. Hello. No, I don't. Not yet. Hello.
Everybody, church is starting. Just thought I'd let you know.
Okay. So welcome everybody. Welcome this morning. We've got a couple of new things this morning. So the first thing you'll notice we've got some new microphones here. So there'd been some complaints, particularly from the people online, that they couldn't hear us. So we've got these microphones and they're set like this. So not only can you hear me speak, you can hear anything that's going on in my guts. Get a little bit of it. So apparently no, so for the taller people in the group, they speak into this one, and the shorter people, they're caught by this one. So we don't have to we don't have to move anything. You can also see we've got a new area in the church this morning. This area up here is called Gold Class. Now
we put in more offerings so we get better seats.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So there is a mandatory cost for this. We'll let you know what that is after the service, okay?
Yes, no worries.
We collect it retrospectively. Just a brief bit of news for everyone. So Julie and Tim aren't here this morning because Tim decided to go for a walk just on dusk last night and fell over a gutter. And so he's fallen on his bad arm. And so he's being x-rayed this morning. So Julie rang early and apologised that they won't be here. So our thoughts are with Tim, and the x-ray technician will have to deal with plenty of moaning, is my feeling. No, Katrina says I shouldn't say that. But having said those things, let's just take a moment, and what we're just going to do is we're just going to sit quietly, and we're going to just centre ourselves. And Mike, if the next slide. So we're just going to have this very little gentle meditation for about a minute or two. And I'll just read this slide out to you a couple of times, just as you sit and be quiet and breathe. Breathing in, I calm body and mind. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in this present moment, I know that this is the only moment. Breathing in, I calm body and mind. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know that this is the only moment. And one more time. Breathing in, I calm body and mind. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is the only moment. Let's come and share this hour together as a community. Let's start by doing two things that we do every Sunday, two of our traditions, and we'll start by making an acknowledgement of country, which I'll read to you, and then as we do the welcoming and affirming statement, I'll ask us all to read it together. As we start today, I would like to acknowledge the Aboriginal owners of the land on which we are meeting, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I would like to pay my respects to their elders past and present. Today we acknowledge the pain and suffering that the Indigenous people of this country have endured over many generations. And we commit ourselves to find pathways of respect, healing, justice and friendship together with them. And now together, the welcoming and affirming statement. Altogether, HeartWell is a fully affirming community and fully committed to being a safe place for all people who are connected to this community, regardless of gender, sexuality, race, family background, economic situation, where you come from, what abilities you have, what languages you speak, what religion, spiritual path, tradition and ethical congregation. Everyone is welcome here, and we want everyone to feel safe here. I just thought I'd throw up a little slide next. So this was some of us last Sunday. As I think most of you know, last Sunday we participated in the Pride March, which was towards the end of the Midsummer Festival. It was a fantastic day. You can see Rosemary and Anne. You probably can't see it on those pictures there, can you? Rosemary and Anne braved the otherwise all-male group, so it was great to have them along. But
We were proud of you.
very proud of us. Thank you. But you know what I'd say about last Sunday is that we gathered in St Kilda. It was a beautiful day, and there is just a wonderful spirit of goodwill. So there are people of all shapes and sizes wearing a range of quite diverse costumes. It would be fair to say we were the more conservatively dressed on the day. John is saying he's going to lead us somewhere different next year, but you know. But in the context of the day, there is this wonderful feeling of having fun and being together, and you know, there was no aggression or angst or it was just a whole lot of people together and people chatted with you, and you know, I'm assuming we will do this again next year. I don't know, but I'm assuming. But if we do, can I encourage you to come? It's just a lovely day, if you can make it. If you can make it. So yeah. Now, I think Michael's going to leave his space behind the desk, and he's going to come up and he's going to bring us our reading for the morning. And then after that, I'm going to ask Brian to jump straight into the reflection. Mike, you right?
These are way too close. Oh, these are going to stand over there, but okay. Hopefully I can, yeah, all right. And that is way too small. Okay. Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tested by the devil. He fasted 40 days. Oh, I'm reading, which version are we reading here? It annoys me when they're different. Sorry, this is a me thing. Oh, is this the NIV or because I'm using the NU, the
I think
updated?
that's the NIV, but don't quote me on mine.
This is the NIV. Okay. After fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. The tempter, not the devil, came to him and said, "If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread." Jesus answered, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to the holy city and had him stand on the highest point of the temple. "If you are the Son of God," he said, "throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and they will lift you up in their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone." Jesus answered him, "It is also written, do not put the Lord your God to the test." Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. "And this I will give to you," he said, "if you bow down and worship me." Jesus said to him, "Away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only." Then the devils left him, and angels came and attended him.
Let's see how this operation works with these. It's like 2 alien antennas or something. I felt like we should have given Michael an applause for that reading, because it was a long one. He's bowing, I can see him bowing. It was a long one, but he kind of read it with real gusto and life and brought it to life, yeah. So it's nice to see everyone. Well done to the brave people sitting up there. I'm sure that'll swell in weeks to come when people feel more comfortable. What's that?
I'm not giving this up.
No, that's fine. So that chair is taken for anybody, going ahead. Just take John's one. You won't mind. So today, Lent is only, I think it's the 18th from memory is when it starts, which is Ash Wednesday. And it is early this year, but I thought I would kind of just give an introduction or an invitation this week as we begin to think about Lent, hence leaning into Lent and framing that space. It is, and I mean that in the truest sense of the word, it's an invitation. So you can decline an invitation if you want to. And obviously I'm stating the obvious, we're all a mature community, but if things don't resonate with you, that's okay. If things resonate with you, that's cool too. And to be completely transparent as well, this is an invitation to myself. So these things that I'm talking about, I have absolutely not mastered in my life. In fact, this time of my life, I probably need them more than ever. So this is an invitation to you and to myself to consider these things as well. They sometimes say that philosophers, and I think it's the same for theologians too, most of their philosophy is autobiography. And theologians might not like to say that about themselves, but I think there's probably a truth in it. And this week, for the first time, I thought, I just wonder if all my sermons and talks are just autobiography as well. So we'll see how that goes. So leaning into Lent. Most of us are very skilled at leaning away from discomfort. We lean away from silence. We lean away from uncertainty. We lean away from grief, from complexity, from aching bodies, and from questions that don't resolve neatly. Now, I say most of us, maybe some of us over our lifetimes have found it easier to lean into those things, particularly if we've been forced into them and had to lean into them. So we all might be at different positions on that sliding scale, if that's the right word. So hence, it's most of us. But leaning away from discomfort is actually an evolutionary mechanism. We tend to want to survive in the world. I'm assuming we're generally most in that space. And I think it was the Dalai Lama that said, even spiders, I don't know why he picked a spider, want to survive in the world. Even spiders want to survive in the world. So on the one hand, we seek to avoid discomfort. It also, then we tend to want to lean towards things that help us avoid that, right? So on the one hand, avoid discomfort, but then we want to use things that help us avoid those things as well, right? So we might lean into things like noise, speed, not the drug, but potentially the drug, depending on where. You like that one, did you, Fiona? Distraction, productivity, certainty, the next thing, the next holiday, the next doom scroll, the next plan, the next achievement, the next degree. And not that any of those things are wrong, but I think we're at a time in our culture of social acceleration where it's getting faster and faster, where we're evaluated by our productivity, etc., etc. And that seems to be the dominant narrative. We live in a world that constantly, therefore, offers us escape routes. If something feels uncomfortable, we can mute it, we can numb it, we can try to fix it, reframe it, or outrun it. And we have entire industries that are built around helping us not feel what we're feeling. Sorry, the thing that went through my mind was try to fix things, and I'm just so terrible at fixing things. Like that's my mind went. Like I'm terrible with the drill. So my kids don't even ask me anymore to fix things around the house. They ask each other's boyfriends and whatnot. But so I think when the Christian calendar quietly brings us into Lent, a season that is shaped by slowness, simplicity. Ooh. No, that's cool. Honesty and reflection, it can feel out of step, even maybe suspicious, especially for those of us in progressive spiritual spaces who have done a lot of healing from rigid or shaming forms of religion, right? Many of us have inherited versions of Lent that were heavy with guilt, with performance and shame. Versions sounded like things like, give something up, try harder, be better, don't fail. Versions where the divine felt more like a disappointed supervisor than a loving presence. So for myself, I grew up in a tradition that avoided Lent, a charismatic and Pentecostal tradition that focused on always being healthy and happy. I think for the first 10 years of my Christian life, I didn't even know that Lent existed. Why on earth would you celebrate Lent? And only later, as I moved beyond the charismatic and Pentecostal world, that I could see the value of Lent and things I'm focusing like Ash Wednesday, which we'll do next week, even though it's not Wednesday, but with Wednesday in mind. So if Lent makes you maybe tighten on the inside, or maybe roll your eyes, or quietly go, no thank you, Brian, that makes a lot of sense. I can get that too. It's perhaps an intelligent reaction to something that might have been difficult in the past. And it's your system kind of remembering to try and keep you safe and do things that are life-giving. And yet, many of us still feel drawn to the season, still curious whether something gentle and meaningful might be here and there waiting for us. Still sensing that we need some kind of counter rhythm to the speed and intensity of modern life. and the rejection of avoiding the discomfort in life. Matthew's gospel speaks about being led into the wilderness, a place where discomfort, where Jesus has to face the deep questions about who he is and what and how he will do his life. Mark's gospel is slightly different. It said the Spirit actually drove Jesus into the desert. And as I kind of hinted at the beginning, for many of us, we might find ourselves driven into discomfort with little decision in the matter sometimes. And again, next week we'll open up questions of mortality. I thought, I want to say morality. No, not morality, mortality. What is that? Anyway. And Meryl will also share with us at the beginning of March and over Lent. And of course, Lent will take us right through until Easter. So today, it's not about kind of wanting to revive obligations for us, and it's not about nailing our spiritual practices and getting them all right, but rather about thinking about Lent as permission. Permission to slow down, permission to be honest about how we are actually traveling in life, permission to notice what our lives might be doing to us, permission to lean towards our inner lives instead of constantly moving away from them. So I want to explore this invitation with 3 simple movements, and they're not long, so probably about another 10 minutes in total. So firstly, Lent is an invitation to slow the momentum. Again, it's an invitation. At its heart, Lent isn't about doctrine first, it's about rhythm. So for centuries, people noticed something deeply human. We need seasons of expansion and seasons of contraction, seasons of celebration and seasons of narrowing, times of feasting and times of fasting, sometimes outward expression and then sometimes an inward kind of listening. So if we think about it, nature moves this way too. It's hard to imagine that with all our lights and how long we stay awake at night and how early we get up now that we have electricity. But nature moves this way too. There's day and then there's night. There's inhale and then there's exhale. There's winter and then there's spring. And our bodies move this way too. And our emotional lives move this way too. But our culture often doesn't. And I think that's a challenge. So as I said earlier, modern life is extraordinarily good at keeping us in constant expansion. More information, more stimulation, more urgency, more outrage, more consumption. And we're encouraged to kind of optimize every moment, monetize every hobby, respond to every message as quick as you can, stay informed about every crisis that's happening. We are rarely invited to less. Rarely, I can never quite say that word right, protected from excess. And rarely are we supported in restraining ourselves sometimes. So sometimes it feels like our life is in a kind of constant, permanent fast forward. And when everything is fast, the danger is that very little can be deep. At least that's been my experience. Others might see that differently. But I think Lent gently interrupts that momentum, not with drama, but with a quiet insistence. And it asks these kinds of questions of us. What if these weeks in Lent didn't need to be impressive? What if this season wasn't about becoming better, but about becoming more honest? Not more impressive, but more present in our lives. What if depth mattered more than output? Not more worthy, but more alive on the inside and in our actual lives. So in this sense, Lent isn't anti-life, it's anti-distraction, right? So hence often giving up things as part of Lent, which we often do, provides an opportunity to remove a distraction in order that we might begin to see certain things differently about ourselves that we haven't seen before. It's a communal agreement. We do it together to step off the treadmill of constant doing and begin to notice what's been drowned out by the noise. The tiredness that we've simply been pushing through, perhaps. The grief or discomfort we haven't made room for in our lives. And the deep longings and calls we've buried under our busyness. And slowing down can feel uncomfortable at first. We all know that feeling when we go on a holiday and all of a sudden it's like, oh geez, how do I actually slow down? Because when the noise drops, we often meet restlessness, we often meet sadness, we often meet anxiety that's been waiting there underneath. But those feelings were already there. Slowness doesn't create them, it simply often reveals them. And what is revealed can then be tended. The second thought, and I've just realized when I say I've got 10 minutes to go, I know Chris has probably set his watch. He hasn't this time, and check in on me. Lent is a season for listening and not fixing. Again, we live in a culture that is obsessed with fixing. We fix the body, we fix the mood, we fix the relationship, we fix the career, and we then fix the self. That kind of fixation we have with fixing things on the outside becomes a similar fixation we have with fixing things on the inside. And again, don't hear what I'm not saying. There's a real goodness in healing and repair. There really is. But there's a danger, I think, in the belief that we must always be improving, always correcting, always optimizing ourselves. And that's a real challenge for me and continues to be one. And we start to relate to our own lives as projects rather than as mysteries. And so I think Lent, again, maybe shifts us gently from self-improvement to self-attunement, if that makes sense. Kind of a subtler, more gentler way of being. Or from trying to correct ourselves to learning how to listen to ourselves with compassion. I don't know how you guys find it. I feel it so much easier offering compassion to other people than offering it to myself. I don't know if I'm the only one that battles with that. If I could just treat myself the way I treat other people, man, I'd be much more easier to move through the world, I think. And that's a challenge for us in our culture too, I think. So I think Lent offers a different posture, is a listening. So instead of asking what's wrong with me, we ask what is happening in me. It's a different kind of energy. Instead of how do I get rid of this feeling, we might ask what might this be trying to show me or reveal to me. Instead of how do I improve myself, we wonder how might I befriend myself here in this moment. Tending and befriending. So this is quite subtle, but I do think it has the potential to change everything. Listening softens our inner stance. It makes room for compassion, and it allows us to respond rather than react. And that's true of working with people as well as working with ourselves. And the story at the heart of Lent, for me at least, there's many things about Lent, is Jesus in the wilderness, not as punishment, not as failure, but as preparation. So the wilderness is where distraction falls away. That's why it's kind of removing things of our life that might be distracting us, where the usual comforts and coping strategies are no longer available. So the false selves get tired, maybe would be another way to put it, where we come face to face with what is actually driving our lives. And these kind of literal going to the desert experiences are quite coming popular in our culture, vision quests. I met somebody even this week who's doing a 10-day vision quest, not from a religious background at all, and realizing the value of going into these kinds of discomforting spaces. I don't think that's a word. And learning and preparing through that space. We don't enter the desert, though, to become holy. It's not the H, maybe the WH version. We enter the desert to become undistracted. And we don't have to travel anywhere to find the desert. I mean, sometimes you can do that. It appears whenever we stop numbing, stop performing, stop rushing, and stop hiding. So silence can be a desert. Grief can be a desert. Sobriety can be a desert. Therapy can be a desert. And honest conversation can be a desert as well. And I'm going to resist the temptation to play on the words desert and dessert, but anyway. But there is something there perhaps. So these spaces can often feel exposed and uncomfortable, but they're also where truth often becomes clearer. And truth, even when it's tender or difficult, is what allows real freedom, I think, to help us grow. And so the Christian story at its heart, and as we move towards Easter, is both death and resurrection. We confront our own mortality. Lent reminds us of this. Jesus confronted his demons. Depending on where you sit, they can be literal or figurative, but the wilderness experience raises discomfort, as it did for Jesus too. And then the third movement, just briefly, Lent begins not with resurrection, but with honesty about our limits, even our own mortality. So it makes space for what matters most. Remember you are dust is not meant as an insult, although I'm sure it's used that way at some points, but it's actually about grounding. It's about grounding. It comes from the ground. A reminder that we are finite, we are fragile, and we are precious, all at the same time. We are temporary, and when we really let that settle in, strange shifts can happen in our life. And we're going to look at that in more detail next week when we look at mortality and Ash Wednesday, with Ash Wednesday in mind. So, but briefly, pettiness can lose some of its grip in our lives. We make space for really what matters. Bitterness becomes harder to justify. Love becomes more urgent. The courage we've been postponing starts to feel more necessary. Someday begins sounding less and less convincing. Lent asks of us, if your life is brief, what kind of attention does it deserve? Where do you want your energy to go? It's a fascinating question. What do you want to be awake to? I think the Buddha literally means the awakened one, but I might be wrong in that. Is it? Nicole, would you know? Anyway, to awake. This is where the old language of giving something up can actually be reframed in the sense of Lent isn't primarily about subtraction for its own sake, as I said earlier, but it's about making space. Sometimes that does mean loosening our grip on something that numbs us, like alcohol, maybe. Things that distract us or keeping us overstretched, not because we're bad, but because we're full. Because our nervous systems are tired, and because our souls are crowded and crowded out. And just as often, Lent is about adding what truly nourishes us. So maybe that's more rest, more honesty. Well done. Honesty can be brutal and cruel as well, right? More time outside, maybe. More prayer or meditation. More therapy or just therapy. More creativity. More deep conversations. More embodiment in our lives. It's not about earning transformation. It's about trying to cooperate with it, right? About aligning our lives, that are tuning, even gently, with what we already know is life-giving. It's about small, sustainable shifts that help us make space for what is already trying to grow in us. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, again, you never ever have to do that. I'm just going to give us 3 questions. And as I read these questions, don't stress about answering them even at a necessarily a rational level. And even if one thing pops out from all 3 questions, what bubbles up inside you when you hear these kinds of questions? Where in my life right now do I most need to slow down rather than push through? Where in my life right now do I most need to slow down rather than push through? It's a beautiful question. What feeling, truth, or longing have I been avoiding that might be asking for my attention this season? What feeling, truth, or longing have I been avoiding that might be asking for my attention this season? And then lastly, what is one small, compassionate change or practice could I make that would create more space for what truly nourishes me? What is one small, compassionate change or practice that I could make that would create more space for what truly, truly nourishes me? I'll close with the blessing. May you have the courage to slow your pace when everything around you urges to hurry. May you trust that your worth is not measured by your productivity, your performance, or your progress, but is held in something deeper and way more enduring. As you enter the quiet spaces of this season, may you be gentle with what you find there. May you be gentle. May you be gentle with what you find there. When restlessness rises, may you meet it with patience. When grief surfaces, may you meet it with kindness. And when truth appears, may you meet it with honesty rather than fear, even if just for a little bit. May the stripping back of distraction reveal not an emptiness, but what has been waiting for your attention all along. May you discover that letting go is not loss alone, but also the making of room. Room to breathe. Room to breathe. Room to love. Room for the still, small voice within you. And when the path feels dry or uncertain, like the wilderness, may you remember that deserts too are places where deep roots can grow. May this Lenten season not make you smaller through shame, but freer through truth, so that as you can walk towards Easter a little more awake, just a little more awake, a little more tender, and a little more alive. A little more awake, a little more tender, and a little more alive. Amen.
Wow. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian. Now, here's what we're going to do next. Okay, so in a minute, Mike's going to put on a little piece of music for us, which is just going to be background music. And while Mike does that, Trine, and I'm about to nominate Chris, are just going to hand out. So I'd like all of you to get into groups, right? So to be with people you can chat with means one of you two is going to have to move, if not both of you, or other people are going to have to move up there. So be in a group, and perhaps round tables if you can be. If you're by yourself, Rosemary, you're definitely going to have to move. So we're going to hand out these pieces of paper. While we do that, we'll just have some background music playing. I'll actually get you to light the Christ candle when you're finished handing out the pieces of paper, Chris. The pieces of paper are just a précis of what Brian said. That's all they are. So you've got a minute to read them, and then we're going to spend about 10 minutes just in your group chatting about it. What do you think? How's this engaged with you? Not with any specific outcome in mind other than reflecting on it. Does that make sense to everyone? The piece of paper is double-sided, so there's stuff front and back. So, Mike, do you want to just play the piece of music now and then? Well, and we've got about 10 minutes to chat, so we don't have to rush, okay? So, Mike? Yeah, that'd be good, thanks. You can even start talking over the piece of music if you like, but it's there for give you some reading time. Okay. Turn it down now. It's fine, just roll it off here. Now I'm going to interrupt your conversations. Some are going to be harder to interrupt than others, quite obviously. May I interrupt your conversations? You guys in gold class don't get a special permission to overtalk, okay? It doesn't include that.
Yeah.
And I know I'm interrupting your conversations, but that doesn't mean your conversation has to end. It just means I'm interrupting it now. I'm just interrupting it now, and there's going to be many chances for you to pick your conversation up. And you know what? I encourage you to pick your conversation up at another place, another time, maybe even over coffee this morning, maybe sometime during the week. But if I don't interrupt your conversation now, you'll all say we've gone on too long. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have our pastoral prayer, and Julie was going to bring us our pastoral prayer, but she's in an X-ray department this morning, so she won't be bringing us our pastoral prayer. So what we're going to do for pastoral prayer is just two things really quickly. One, I'm going to ask Brian to remind us what the third question was. I tried to scribble it down, but I've reread what I scribbled down and it doesn't make any sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend, I'm going to get Brian to come and read that question, and we're going to spend a few moments, I'm going to ask you in quiet reflection around that third question, which is fundamentally about what compassionate change or small practice you could make, right? I'm just going to ask you to spend a few minutes thinking on that as we lean into Lent. And then at the end of it, to just close the time off, a couple of weeks ago was Aboriginal Sunday, so Jan the 25th, and a lot of things happened on that day. One of the things that happened was that one of the Aboriginal elders, Auntie Shirley Congu, put out a prayer, and it's a prayer for the protection of our children. It's a lovely prayer. So what I'll do is we'll spend some time reflecting around the answer to that third question, and the way I'll bring us to a close, I'll just read Auntie Shirley's prayer, okay, as the end of that time. So Brian, so let's just be quiet. Again, close your eyes if you'd like, keep them open if you want, but just some time thinking on this question. That one,
Yep.
yeah.
What is one small, compassionate change or practice could I make that would create more space for what truly nourishes me?
Say it again.
What is one small, compassionate change or practice that I could make that would create more space for what truly nourishes me?
Let's just be quiet around that for a moment. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the prayer, and as I read this prayer, I'm going to ask you to just share the emblems. So the bread and the cup, just share them together with this prayer as the background. A prayer from Auntie Shirley Congu. Creator Spirit, you are the God of justice, peace, and healing. Children as young as 10 are behind bars. You knew them in their mother's wombs. Their futures now dimmed by systems meant to protect them. We lift our voices to you for every child who deserves to grow up safe, loved and free. We call on leaders to act with courage. Let them choose healing over harm and children over politics. May your peace flow through our communities and your healing restore what has been broken. Let love lead and justice rise. Bring healing to our children and to our communities, so we may walk together in strength and in dignity and in hope. And may we all say together, Amen. Now we're just going to close the service today. No, before we do that, I've got to make some announcements. In a minute, Mike's going to come and lead us in our benediction, but I do have to make some announcements this morning, which I apologise about. So the main announcements I have to make are about next Sunday, which is our AGM. So next Sunday is our annual general meeting. It will pretty well follow the service. There were some people who thought we'd put it out that it was starting at 12 o'clock. That was only because we thought Brian was going to speak for a long time on mortality next Sunday. Yeah. But essentially what we'll do is we'll finish our worship time together and have a couple of minutes for a cup of coffee and that, and then we'll go straight into the AGM. There's a range of things that I need to talk to you about the AGM. You will all receive a copy of the report this week. It will be delivered to you digitally, electronically, so you'll get a soft copy of the report this week. However, we know there are some people who really prefer to get a hard copy of the report. I have a few, and one for you, Gwen. I have a few here this morning. If you would really prefer a hard copy of the report because you would find that easier to read, please see me after the service. Okay, and I've got a few of those. The other thing is we need, if you want to attend the meeting online, so we will have the meeting run online, but it won't be a open broadcast. It will be an invited in broadcast. So essentially it'll be like a Facebook group rather than a YouTube group, okay? For those of us who actually understand the difference there, and I'm not sure I'm one of those. So basically we've got to invite you into the space rather than just anyone being able to come into it. If you therefore want to attend the meeting online, you need to let me know so we can send you a digital invitation. And the easiest way to let me know is by emailing me at danny.wilson@heartwell.au, right? danny.wilson@heartwell.au, okay? So if you want to attend online, do that. And I'm saying that for people who are online this morning as well also. The other thing, if you would like to vote at that meeting and you're not going to be present, either because you're going to be online or away, you can lodge a proxy. I need to receive your proxy by Thursday of this week. I have proxy forms available today that I can provide people. Ultimately, you can provide me a proxy form online and we do accept a digital signature on that, so you don't have to give me a hard copy of a proxy form, okay? So if you, again, want to give me a proxy form, you're not here today, danny.wilson tim@heartwell.au. Send me that and I'll send the form out to you, or see me after the service today and we can do that. The main things that we will be voting on at the meeting next week is there's obviously a range of reports that come out. In particular, we will accept the financial reports, so there'll be one motion around those, but we will also elect our office bearers. So at this stage, in terms of office bearers, our constitution allows us to have 10. So coming into this meeting, we've had 6. At this meeting, both Merrill and I, so you are elected for a 3-year term, both Merrill Blair and my term finishes this year. We've both been nominated again to go again, and we've both said we will do that. So we will be standing for re-election, which we're able to do under our constitution. In addition to that, Janine and Andy have also both indicated that they're open for they've been nominated and are up for election. So that would take our group from 6 to 8. We still do have some time capacity to accept other nominations if people would like to make them, but you probably need to see me today on that, right? So please see me today after the service and we can do that. We will have an update for you on where we're up to with CCVT next Sunday. We actually had hoped to be able to put a motion to the meeting, but just so close, but not there just yet. But we'll definitely provide an update around that. I think, John, that's all the things I need to say about the AGM. Okay. In terms of other announcements, are there any other announcements that... Karen and Paul are having Dish next Sunday night. So you'll be able to go out and see their place at Warrantyne, which will be pretty exciting. So we'd love you all to come out and train. Do we know who we've got to send a thank you I'm coming to?
If you read the newsletters that put out to you, Dishley, all the contact details are and it would be to Paul and Karen, but I'm happy to pass stuff on.
Yeah.
They're in their mobile number.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't bother to read the newsletter, you need Paul and Karen's details are in there, but either send it to them or to Train. But we'd love to see you all at Paul and Karen's place next week. Who else is there any other?
Yep. Quiet day on Saturday at HeartWell.
Quiet day on Saturday at HeartWell. Andy, do you want to just...
Which Saturday? It's March. This Saturday, isn't it? No, it's March. Oh, sorry.
Andy's slightly ahead of himself, but there's a quiet day coming up.
It'll be a very quiet day.
Yeah, very quiet day. The quiet day is coming up on March the
14th.
March the 14th.
It's the third. I can't exactly remember the date.
Yeah, but look, it'll be in the news sheet for those of you who want to read that. Okay. So that's coming up. Any other announcements that we have to make today?
It is the 14th, the quiet day.
Quiet day is the 14th.
14th of March. Yeah. Thank you, Brian. Yeah.
And I guess the only other thing I'd say is I'd like to say thank you to the placemaking group, who's obviously been doing a bit of work around the place this week. So gold class now open.
I hope you notice everything's clean.
Yep.
Organised, and I'm on the warpath if anyone leaves junk around.
We have hidden cameras.
So Mike, would you like to now, I think that's the end of the announcements. Mike, could you come in, because you're a better singer than me by a long way, and lead us just to close today's service with the Irish benediction.